This week on Business Brief, how state transportation officials plan to improve highway safety along Interstate 70 by adding more parking spots for large trucks. Then, what industry leaders had to say about the economic development potential of data center deals amid opposition from community members. Welcome to Business Brief, Missouri Business Alert's podcast focus on the business news and issues shaping the state. My name is Trevor Grandin, and I am joined by my co-host, Sam Jackson. Sam, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing great. Happy first podcast after the summer solstice.
Thank you so much. Same to you. Let's not waste any more daylight and get into these headlines.
Missouri is pressing ahead with a ban on using food stamps to buy sugary candy and drinks despite a federal judge invalidating similar efforts in other states. A handful of states, including Missouri, were given waivers by the U.S. Department of Agriculture to bar the purchase of sugary foods with money received from the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. On Monday, a judge ruled the Trump administration does not have the authority to issue such waivers for the program. This stops the implementation of so-called Healthy SNAP pilot programs in 5 states, but does not reference Missouri's initiative. Despite the ruling, Missouri officials are determined to roll out their version of the ban by February unless directed otherwise.
Planned Parenthoods across Missouri have resumed offering medication abortions after a Jackson County judge struck down multiple abortion restrictions last week. The ruling comes after Missouri voters approved an amendment in 2024 that enshrined the right to an abortion in the state constitution. Clinics in Kansas City, Columbia, and St. Louis can offer the procedure for the first time in 8 years after Judge Jerry Zhang struck down most of the 40 regulations Planned Parenthood argued violated the new amendment. Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway said her office would appeal the ruling.
Jackson County has joined a growing list of communities throughout Missouri that are pressing pause on data center development. This 6-month moratorium passed on Monday by the Jackson County legislature only applies to unincorporated areas of the county and does not affect a handful of data centers already in development. Counties such as Webster and Stone and communities like St. Charles have already enacted moratoriums of varying lengths. Missourians will have the chance to voice their opinions about data centers to state lawmakers during a public comment session in Jefferson City this September.
The Federal Reserve's preferred inflation gauge measuring personal consumption expenditures rose to a new 3-year high in May, driven largely by more expensive gasoline. The Commerce Department reports consumer prices rose 4.1% in May from a year earlier, marking the largest annual increase since April 2023. Though gas prices have fallen since President Donald Trump agreed to a peace deal with Iran earlier this month, Missouri saw the average price of gas rise to $4.15 a gallon in May. Inflation was 0.4% last month, matching April's increase, and down from 0.7% in March. The price of semiconductors and computer equipment, which are in high demand for AI development, also pushed up consumer prices.
The U.S. Supreme Court has sided with Bayer, the maker of Roundup weed killer, in a case filed by a Missouri resident. The ruling is expected to block thousands of lawsuits alleging the company failed to warn people their product could cause cancer. In a 7-2 decision released Thursday, the court said Bayer, which acquired Crevcore-based Monsanto in 2018, can't be sued in a state court and is not required to attach a warning label to its product. That's because federal regulation haven't found a likely link between using Roundup and developing cancer. The case was filed by a St. Louis man who developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma after using Roundup weed killer throughout his community for more than 20 years.
With a rise in overnight shipments, fast-paced deliveries, and an increase in the entire trucking and freight industry, traffic on I-70 is at an all-time high, and MoDOT is working to make the road safer for all drivers, starting with truck drivers. Sam, I know you reported on this story. What is the state doing to achieve this?
Well, as construction crews are working across the state to expand I-70, MoDOT is planning to expand and improve truck parking options along the route. I spoke with Eric Kopinski, the Missouri Department of Transportation Improve I-70 program director, about why this expansion is needed. Improvements will include an increase in truck parking availability as well as the added third lane on the interstate. Kopinski explains the anticipated impact of the move.
The freight that moves along I-70 is going to be able to do so more easily, and really for Missouri's businesses and the parking, it's going to be a good thing.
So we know the state is footing the bill for the I-70 expansion, but how is it funding the increased truck parking?
So MoDOT applied for the Infrastructure for Rebuilding America grants from the U.S. Department of Transportation. The department initially requested over $300 million, but was awarded $93 million. There was also a private investment being used from gas stations and rest stop companies. Kopinski says that there was one resounding request that rose above the rest when asked how to spend the funds.
There were several needs that were brought to our attention from the trucking community, but the biggest by far was spend this limited money on as many new spots as you can get.
So why is there such a need for the additional truck parking?
There are actually a few factors contributing to this. In the last decade, approximately 55% of all goods were transported by trucks, according to the 2023 report from MoDOT, and it anticipates an increase to 59% by 2043. In surrounding states with similar high demands for the freight industry, significant crashes have happened on highway corridors. Many of those accidents were due to semi-trucks not having places to park. And ultimately, many drivers had to resort to finding unfavorable parking spots on the road shoulders or ramps, resulting in crashes. And with drivers having strict caps on hours that they can spend on the road, Kopinski said having adequate parking spots is essential for helping prevent accidents.
As those hours become close to the end, they got to find a spot to safely pull off and park. And if they can't, then they run into the paradox of, do they park or do they keep trying to find another spot? So it becomes a real big pinch point for them and puts them in a difficult spot.
I know that a lot of the Improve I-70 roadwork has been underway for some time, but when do crews start working on this project?
So construction starts at the end of the summer and is expected to be completed by December 2028. The first stop will be Concordia, which is about 50 miles east from Kansas City. Then crews will move to Wright City, which is about 50 miles west of St. Louis. The final two stops will be Mineola, about 40 miles east of Columbia, and Boonville, about 25 miles west of Columbia. Kopinski said this is just the beginning of MoDOT's efforts to improve conditions for drivers, businesses, and consumers across the state.
We're going to go try to continue to find more money to do this at the federal level to bring back to Missouri, because this is a win-win, and we want to make sure that we can ship goods across our state for our businesses and for everyone doing their personal shopping and those types of things.
For our next story, we hear from Missouri officials and industry leaders about the economic development and benefits of AI and data centers in Missouri.
So I've been hearing a lot about data centers in the news lately. What did they have to say?
Well, during a governor's forum at Missouri University of Science and Technology Protoplex Center, officials discussed how AI is being implemented into the workforce, community concerns about AI data centers, and how the state is managing energy and environmental worries.
Oh, that is interesting. I know some local communities have been concerned about these developments. How are local officials responding?
Well, that's what reporter Karina Grohoskaya set out to answer, as she went down to the governor's forum to hear what officials and leaders had to say about AI and data centers. Here's that story.
Missouri S&T faculty, Missouri officials, and industry leaders gathered at S&T Protoplex Center last week to discuss artificial intelligence and data centers in Missouri during the governor's forum. Covering different topics from workforce development to managing environmental resources, Governor Mike Kehoe talked about the future of AI in Missouri.
Artificial intelligence is not some idea far off in the future. It's here. And the question is not whether this technology is coming. The question is whether Missouri is going to help shape the future or whether we're going to sit back and let the future happen around us.
With AI advancing, many industries have seen an increase in the use of it in their workforce. According to Bennett Boggs, commissioner of the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development, More than half of Missouri's job postings that require AI skills are in fields outside tech.
For the first time, artificial intelligence makes that possible for ordinary workers, not just engineers. And that collision of permanent labor shortage being a technology that finally makes the existing workforce dramatically more productive is the most important workforce story of our time.
Even in education, AI continues to be a developing topic. More universities, community and technical colleges are starting to incorporate artificial intelligence not only into their curriculum, but also by offering associate, bachelor's, and even master's degrees in AI. Apprenticeship programs have seen an increase in AI training. The Codify Foundation, a nonprofit organization, has begun to launch a pilot apprenticeship program around healthcare and AI. Working with the St. Francis Healthcare System in Cape Girardeau and the Missouri Hospital Association, the industry-based apprenticeship would focus on healthcare integration specialists. It starts with learning AI literacy, what the tools are, what they can and can't do. Then it focuses on how to apply those skills to clean up clinical documentation, summarize records, and automate tasks, all while earning a livable wage, according to James Stapleton, president and CEO of Codify Foundation.
She's not learning generic AI in a classroom and then trying to apply it to her job. She's learning it inside real clinical workflows, real documentation, real privacy rules.
Companies are showing interest in Missouri, with Google and Amazon investing a combined $25 billion in data centers in Montgomery County. However, many community members continue to have concerns about these data centers. Marcia Snodgrass, a candidate for the 143rd District of the Missouri House of Representatives, worries about the impact these data centers can have on rural communities.
And I understand that AI is fascinating and innovative and exciting, but that's only from one viewpoint. The viewpoint of these small rural communities is that big business is coming in and literally just taking away their way of life. It's not just the electric and the water, but it's also the sound and the light and how it affects cattle, how it affects livestock, how it affects their daily life.
In April 2025, Governor Mike Kehoe signed into law Senate Bill 4, a major energy and utility reform measure. One item in the law now mandates a special service tariff to large load consumers, like data centers. This ensures that companies have to pay for all the infrastructure needed to serve them, to prevent residential customers from bearing the costs, according to Rob Dixon, the Vice President of Regulatory and Legislative Affairs for Ameren, Missouri.
That's exactly the types of protections that are in place to ensure that when a new data center like the ones we've been talking about all day come into our state, that there's a framework for how to bring them on board. We have that as a law.
According to the Missouri Department of Natural Resources, Missouri has been host to data centers since the early 2000s. As technology advances and data centers expand, so have the systems needed to keep them operational. Many centers started with air cooling as the chips were small. Soon they transitioned, adding liquid cooling, and now many modern data centers are liquid-cooled on a closed-loop system. Ensuring Missouri's water sources are not depleted is one factor being considered as companies are building data centers, according to Kurt Schaefer, the director of Missouri Department of Natural Resources.
And we're very fortunate that we are water-rich, so to say. We don't want to deplete that, but that's a resource Missouri has that helps locate some of these things that bring jobs and money to us. But we certainly don't want to overextend what water we do have.
So it's time for us to get into our words of the week. Sam, what is your word this week?
My word this week is seat.
Now, I am very particular about the chairs that I sit in. I am a stickler for back support.
Well, these aren't cheap seats we're talking about. They're stadium seats. The University of Missouri's expansion of Memorial Stadium is almost done, and officials say they've sold close to 90% of the new premium seats that were added through the project. MU hasn't disclosed how much money it's made on the new seats, but has said it's, quote, solidly in the 7 figures.
Whoa, is this something the stadium has always done, or is this a new phase in sports watching?
Premium seats aren't anything new at Memorial Stadium, but it does continue a wider trend of premium seats taking up more space in stadiums across professional and college sports. And this is all on top of MU's athletics department trying to sell the naming rights to Memorial Stadium. Deals like that have historically meant big bucks for colleges. The University of Arizona sold the naming rights to their stadium for $60 million last year.
Well, we'll be watching to see if there's a new name on the side of that stadium anytime soon.
That's all I've got this week. What's your word, Trevor?
My word is serviceberry.
So I have no idea what that is.
Well, let me tell you. They are small trees that are part of the rose family. So they're related to apples, strawberries, and all the other delicious fruits that we eat. They're native to Missouri, but are usually only found in the wild. Personally, I'm a big fan of serviceberries. They're sweet like raspberries, but are shaped like blueberries. And because they're so rare, whenever you find one, it's like a little surprise.
Well, I've never seen them at the grocery store. Is there a market for them?
Nope, at least not here in the U.S. There is a market in Canada where they're grown on large orchards and even mechanically harvested. But the berries are having a little bit of a renaissance right now in the U.S. thanks to a popular book by Robin Wall Kimmerer called The Serviceberry. Now, organizations are trying to capitalize on that buzz by introducing the fruit to a whole new audience. The deep red berries make a delicious jam, can be baked into pies, or just eaten on their own.
Well, maybe we'll see them on store shelves soon.
Perhaps, but one final thought, it is important to know before you forage. Don't eat anything you can't identify with 100% certainty. Some plants have toxic lookalikes. A plant identification app is a forager's best friend. For our closing thought, here's Eric Kopinski, director of the Improve I-70 project, speaking to the benefits he feels the joint efforts of funders will have on the creation of safer truck parking options along the interstate.
The combination of the public-private partnership where we're each investing dollars into this challenge, it's going to make the situation a lot better.
Well, that is all for this week. The M33 Project provided the music for this episode. For my co-host, Sam Jackson, and editor Kelly DeRook, I'm Trevor Grandin. This has been The Business Brief. Thank you for listening. We'll see you back here next week.